Good morning. VE Day. So, where was I on VE Day? Well, the chances are that I was at school. I was before going on 5 on VE Day. My memories are very limited. Little flashbacks here and there. I remember quite clearly that I was at school because we collected books to help the war effort. And if you got 2 books, you were a private. And if you got 5 books, you were a corporal, and so on. Until, if you managed to demolish your parents' library, you became a field marshal. It's a very privileged to know a real field marshal. Field Marshal the Lord Bramwell, before he died. A very fine man, a very interesting man to talk to, and treated abysmally by society before he died. But that's another story. VE Day, there are several things I remember. First of all, the build-up to it. I had cousins in the city, the smallest city at the time in the UK, in terms of population, the largest in terms of acreage, and that was the city of Lichfield. And I can remember sitting in their front room and watching convoys of American military vehicles driven by black soldiers wending their way south. I had no idea, of course, that they were preparing for the Normandy landings. The drivers were really upset because whoever the lead driver was would keep pulling to a halt, and they would hit one another with a lot of, they would go ping, 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 ping all the way down, and then the drivers would get out and they would swear. I didn't even understand the swear words at the age of 4, but I distinctly remember them being very upset. And it was an interesting thing that I remember from then. I also remember going down to the corner and urged on by my cousins, who were all older than I was, and I was a little cherub-faced fellow, and saying to American soldiers, "Got any gum, chum?" Well, we managed to get some. They were used to it. If they got it, they shared it with us. If they didn't, they said, no, kid or whatever, sorry, you're out of luck today. But occasionally we would hit an officer and he would have chocolate, and he would share some chocolate with me. And to the chagrin of my cousins, one sat down and shared the bar of chocolate with me. So they didn't dare come forward and say, "Well, hoy, we put him up to this." So I had the whole bar of chocolate. And since with rationing, I was used to having one little square of chocolate a day, a whole bar shared with a nice American officer was indeed a privilege and a pleasure. I also remember pointing to the skies when a plane went overhead and saying to my great aunt Lillian, and in those days we were a large family, we had great aunts coming out of our ears. "Aunt Lillian," I said, "is that one of ours or one of theirs?" And she looked up and said, "One of ours, dear, one of ours." And I said, Great Aunt Lillian, why did God make Germans? To which her very Edwardian response was, hush, child, hush. And those are some of the memories I remember being in the school playing ground and playing a game where when the whistle went, you sat down wherever you were, and I happened to sit down in the middle of a great puddle and had to have my clothes dried in the headmistress's office. Yeah, it could only happen to me. Other memories I can remember, and VE Day didn't mean much to me at the time. It just meant the end of the war. And I remember older boys, older children, I should say, and adults discussing the fact that now perhaps we wouldn't have rationing anymore. Now they'd be able to get things into the shops. Now there would be no more bombing. Those are the sort of things that I vaguely recollect them saying. But the one thing that I do remember is that someone saying we were all going to get ice cream, free ice cream. Every child in the country was going to get a free ice cream, and that it was going to be red, white, and blue. I don't remember getting the ice cream. I just remember being told that we were going to get it. And I also remember that we had a bonfire for the first time. Bonfires were lit. No fireworks. They had, of course, been banned well before the war. But bonfire we had, and we stood around, and people sang. And people sang all sorts of war songs. Run, rabbit, run, 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 run. We've got the Germans on the run. It's a long way to Tipperary. Pack up your bags in an old knapsack. I remember all those things. And they were part of the atmosphere of the time. There was a great sense of release, a great sense that a burden was lifted off everyone's shoulders. And much as today, with the virus, nobody knew what the brave new world of post-war Britain, and for that matter post-war America, would bring. That was an adventure that we were not particularly prepared to undertake, but undertake we had to. And life, since 1945, has had its share of surprises, upsets, disappointments, but remarkable challenges, remarkably wonderful moments that will sit in my life, now that I'm 80, from those days, those heady days in 1945, when Britain went mad and victory in Europe was declared. Those are the bits that I recall, and I hope that those people older than I, that are lucky enough to still have life, will remember many, many more things. Perhaps that's a small contribution. Thanks for being with me this morning. Keith Hayes, Mirror Television, Toodle Pip.
I'm Annie Verrill, and I work for Mirador. Not heard of it yet? You will. Oh, yes, you will. So why not join us and be among the first?